At its peak, around 30% of the world's population lived within the Roman Empire. In many respects, it represented the height of human development. Its people had access to things like central heating, concrete, double-glazed windows, banking, international commerce, and the possibility of climbing the social ladder. Rome became the first city in history to reach a population of 1 million and stood as a hub of technological, legal, and economic innovation. It was a seemingly unshakable empire, wealthy, powerful, and secure. But that didn't last forever. At first gradually, then all at once, the world's most dominant civilization crumbled. When we talk about a civilization, we mean a complex society with a division of labor, distinct social classes, and governance through institutions. Civilizations share a unified language and culture, and they domesticate animals and plants to support large urban populations, often marked by the construction of grand monuments. Civilization enables us to work efficiently on massive scales, accumulate and pass down extensive knowledge, and harness both human creativity and the planet's natural resources. Without civilization, most people alive today would never have existed. That's what makes its downfall so troubling, because collapse tends to be the norm rather than the exception. Nearly all civilizations eventually collapse, typically after about 340 years. For individuals, collapse is almost never pleasant. It shatters a shared cultural identity as institutions lose the ability to coordinate people. Knowledge fades, standards of living drop, violence rises, and populations often shrink. A civilization may vanish entirely, get absorbed into more powerful neighbors, or give rise to something new, sometimes using less advanced technology than before. So if that's how it played out throughout history, what does it mean for us today? Just like medieval Europeans eventually forgot how to make cement or build plumbing systems, could we someday forget how to create industrial technology, and with it, lose everything from dollar-slice pizza to smartphones and laser eye surgery? Today, our cities sprawl for thousands of square kilometers. We fly through the skies and communicate in real time. Modern agriculture, featuring high-yield genetically engineered crops, advanced equipment, and potent fertilizers, feeds billions. Modern medicine gives us the longest life expectancy we've ever had, while industrial technology provides an unparalleled level of abundance and comfort, even though we still haven't figured out how to enjoy these things without damaging our environment. While today's world contains multiple distinct civilizations, they collectively form a single globalized civilization. This modern civilization, however, is more vulnerable in some ways than those of the past, mainly because it's so deeply interconnected. If the industrial world were to collapse, the result would be catastrophic. Most of today's global population wouldn't survive, as industrial agriculture would no longer be able to support them. And there's an even more alarming possibility. What if the collapse was so complete that reindustrialization was no longer achievable? What if it destroyed any chance we had of a prosperous multiplanetary future? The collapse of global civilization could become an existential catastrophe, one that wipes out not only those alive today, but also every potential future generation. The discoveries never made, the art never created, the joys never felt, gone forever. But how likely is this scenario? Let's begin with some encouraging facts. While civilizations have frequently fallen, none of those collapses have derailed the long-term path of global civilization. Rome may have fallen, but other civilizations like the Aksumite Empire, the Teotihuacans, and the Byzantine Empire continued on. What about sudden collapses in human population? So far, we haven't witnessed any catastrophe that killed more than 10% of the global population. Not a pandemic, not a natural disaster, not even a war. The last significant example of rapid population loss was the Black Death, a 14th century bubonic plague that swept through Europe and the Middle East, wiping out a third of Europe's population and about 10% of humanity overall. If any event was going to bring down civilization, it should have been that. But the Black Death showcased human resilience more than weakness. While societies were shaken in the short term, the immense suffering and death didn't significantly stall Europe's long-term economic or technological progress. Population levels rebounded within 2 centuries, and just 2 centuries after that, the Industrial Revolution began. History is filled with amazing recoveries from devastating events. Take the atomic bombing of Hiroshima during World War II. 140,000 people died, and 90% of the city was destroyed or reduced to ashes. Yet astonishingly, Hiroshima rebuilt. Its population recovered in just a decade, and today it thrives with 1.2 million residents. None of this makes those events any less horrific for those who endured them. But from a species-wide perspective, our resilience is a hopeful sign. Why recovery is likely, even in the worst scenarios, unlike past civilizations. Humanity now possesses enormous destructive power. Our nuclear arsenals are so massive that a full-scale global war could trigger a nuclear winter and kill billions. Our deepening understanding of biology and genetic engineering makes it increasingly possible to create viruses as contagious as COVID-19 and as deadly as Ebola. The risk of global pandemics is much higher than it used to be. So yes, we might cause our own collapse, and it could be far worse than anything nature has thrown at us. But suppose 99% of the human population vanished. Would that spell the end of civilization for good? Could we still bounce back? There are some strong reasons to think we could. For starters, food. Today there are over 1 billion agricultural workers. Even if the global population plummeted to just 80 million, many survivors would still know how to grow food. Plus, we wouldn't have to start from scratch. We could still use high-yield modern crops. For example, today's corn is 10 times bigger than its wild ancestor, and ancient tomatoes were barely the size of peas. After food production, the next step would be to restore industrial capacity, rebuilding power grids and automated factories. One huge challenge is that today's economies depend on massive scale and complex global supply chains. Even if our infrastructure remained intact, we'd take major steps backward in terms of technology. But remember, we're thinking across long time spans. It took about 12,000 years from the dawn of agriculture to the Industrial Revolution. So even if we had to start over, reindustrialization is likely possible, at least over evolutionary timescales. There's a catch, though. The original Industrial Revolution was powered, literally, by easily accessible coal, which we still rely on today. If we burn through all the remaining reserves, not only will climate change worsen, but we might also lose a critical resource needed to rebuild after a collapse. It might be wise to leave some coal untouched as a kind of civilizational backup. Another reason to stay hopeful is our knowledge. While we would lose a great deal of institutional memory, especially information stored on hard drives that no one could read, much of our scientific, technological, and cultural understanding would remain. preserved in the world's 2.6 million libraries. Survivors would know what humanity once achieved and could reverse engineer some of the surviving machines and tools. In summary, while the threat of a catastrophic collapse, natural or self-inflicted, is real and frightening, we have reasons for hope. Humanity is incredibly resilient, and even in the event of a worldwide collapse, recovery seems plausible, though many would suffer and much would be lost along the way. Still, the risks are huge and can't be ignored. Nuclear conflict and dangerous pandemics could wipe out the extraordinary global civilization we've built. In many ways, humanity today resembles a reckless teenager, speeding around blind corners, drunk, and without a seatbelt. The upside? There's still time to plan ahead and reduce these risks. We just need to take action before it's too late. So the fall of civilization isn't just some distant historical drama. It's a possibility that hangs over our present and our future. But here's the truth. Collapse isn't guaranteed. Resilience, adaptation, and knowledge have always pulled humanity back from the brink. The real question is, will we act in time to protect what we've built? If this video got you thinking, there's more to explore. In our previous video, we discussed about the population collapse of South Korea, a modern society facing a silent crisis that could redefine the future of nations. It's not just about history anymore. It's about what comes next. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And hit that bell so you don't miss what's coming. Stay curious, stay cautious, and stay hopeful.